Welcome to the Fighting on Film podcast, the podcast all about classic and obscure war movies, from the Normandy landings to the days of chivalry and swords. If it's been captured on film, we're going to try and cover it. I'm Robbie of RM Military History.
I'm Matthew Moss of Historical Firearms and the Armourer's Bench.
Welcome back to another year of Fighting on Film. Happy 2023 to you all, and we hope you had a wonderful new year. And we also want to thank everyone who supported our fundraiser at Where Eagles Care over Christmas, or if you bought a t-shirt, everyone who supported the pod over the Christmas period. It was amazing. If you listened to our best of episode a couple of weeks ago, we already thanked you there, but we're doing it again because we're just so over the moon with the response, Matt. £150 did we raise in the end?
£150, yeah, fantastic amount of money raised for Crisis.
Amazing. I think we smashed our target 2 years in a row, which is amazing. Yeah.
Amazing, yeah.
So we thought, kick off the year, let's not do a quote unquote serious war film. Let's do something a bit more lighter, kick the gear off, a bit more fun. And we thought we'd choose the 2008 Vietnam War parody comedy hybrid, Tropic Thunder.
How do you describe this movie? So
it's hard, isn't it?
It's a movie about the making of a movie, which is a Vietnam War movie based on a book written by a Vietnam War veteran who, turns out, spoilers, isn't actually a Vietnam War veteran. And then the film then becomes a making of documentary, which wins a fake Oscar. Pretty
much. There's a lot going on. And
there's a lot going on.
It'll become clearer as we go in. So maybe if we start with production this week, it might clear some things up. Who knows?
That's probably the best way of doing it, yeah.
Yeah. So I'm on production for the first time this year, and the film's directed by Ben Stiller. Now, his previous directing credits, because we're going to mention Ben Stiller twice, so I'm just going to talk about his directing here, because Matt will talk about his acting. Mm-hmm. So his previous two directing credits before this was The Cable Guy, I think it was 96, 97, with Jim Carrey and, oh, crikey, I always forget that actor's name, who's Ferris Bueller. Matthew Broderick.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah, that's a good film. I found that was quite funny. The Cable Guy, and then Zoolander. And Tropic Thunder is his third directing role. Mm-hmm. It was co-written by Ben Stiller, along with Justin Theroux, who's an actor and filmmaker and a distant cousin of Louis Theroux.
He is.
Ethan Cohen. Stiller had the idea for the film while working on Empire of the Sun in 1987, because he'd had friends go and do the boot camp for Platoon. And him and Theroux, over a few years, were trying to create this film about actors who went on a boot camp for a war film and ended up getting PTSD and thinking they were in the military, thinking they were in like a military situation. But then they kind of revised it over the years, and it finally
PTSD.
Yeah,
we'll come back to that.
Yeah. And then it became a more of a parody on the Hollywood studio system itself and self-absorbed actors that just so happened to be on the set of a big Hollywood war movie. So there's a lot going on. And as Matt mentioned previously, the movie within a movie of Tropic Thunder lampoons and parodies Hollywood's war films, and more so the sort of Vietnam boom of the 80s war movies. With Tropic Thunder being based on a memoir by the character for Leif Tayback, in the same vein as Like We Were Soldiers and Film War Jacket, all being based on best-selling war memoirs, which I always think was quite funny. More on that later in the Alley Tally. The film was greenlit in 2006, distributed by DreamWorks. It's filmed on the Hawaiian island of Kauai, or Kauai. I don't know how you pronounce that one.
You're doing a great job, though.
I know, right? Which has also served on location for blockbusters such as 1993's Jurassic Park, and was used in the opening shot of the MASH TV series, which I was quite interested. Interesting to learn. And the film had a 6-month pre-production with bespoke sets being built, and the filming started in July 2007 and lasted 13 weeks. And the opening Hot LZ sequence took 3 weeks to shoot on his own, which is, that's a big part of the film. No.
Not surprising.
Dale Dye's advisory company, Warriors Inc., were brought in to help train the actors up and do the action sequences. And Dye served as the film's military technical advisor, as he had done on Platoons. I think there's a nice link there, getting Dye in. And he said this about working on the film. Ben Stiller said this about working with Dye. he gave me a lot of feedback on the experiences that he'd taking actors out into the jungle and a lot of stuff that comes out of what he told me, like going on Platoon and taking the guys out on an overnight, and Oliver Stone telling him to scare the shit out of the actors. So it was an amalgamation of all those stories, input from friends, and then just figuring out what we wanted to do for the story in the movie. The cinematographer is John Toll, who's a two-time Oscar winner for 1995's Legend of the Fall and then 1996's Braveheart. His other credits include The Thin Red Line, which he was also nominated for Best Cinematography Oscar in 1998. And he also worked on The Last Samurai and Iron Man 3. And he really brings like some really credible like level of filmmaking to this movie. Like, I'm not saying that no one else did, but to get John Toll, an Oscar winner, two-time Oscar winner, to shoot your movie, I think it just gives this movie just a little bit more pizzazz.
He must have liked the idea.
I mean, of course,
It must have been the idea that did it for him.
It really is. And look, I got the Blu-ray of it, and I watched a lot of the special features, and just seeing how like sort of respectful Ben Stiller and the rest of the production crew were to his process. You know, he'd go out and take set photos. He'd come in with like charts about lighting, things like that. So he was really, really taking it very seriously, and it really shows. Then we have the music by Theodore Shapiro, who's a frequent collaborator on Stiller films. He did the scores for Along Came Polly, Dodgeball, and the Starsky and Hutch reboots. Had a budget of 97 million, and the film grossed 195 million, so it was quite a success back in the day. And it was released on the August 13th, 2008 in America and September the 19th in the UK. And I saw it the week of release when I was 15 at the Bromley Odeon, which makes me feel very old.
Nice.
I remember being really excited for this because I'll talk about it more later, but the film that I went to see wasn't necessarily the film I thought I was going to see because I wasn't as big of a movie buff back then. But this film really resonated with me, and I think it stuck with me for all these years because it was just so funny. Like, I'd never laughed at a cinema that much before, I don't think. But more about that later. And the film was well received, and it was controversial on its release. We can't do an episode about Tropic Thunder without addressing some of the controversy before we move on. So there was a coalition of disability advocacy groups that derided the film's portrayal of disability, with the Tug Speedman film Simple Jack being seen as a crass and demeaning representation. And I think, they were founded in their accusations, and they even picketed the premiere. Ethan Coen, one of the co-writers, defended the film by saying, "Some people have taken this as making fun of handicapped people, but we're really trying to make fun of the actors who use material for this fodder for acclaim." And I know the film does do that and understand, but I can also see why people were pissed off.
Yeah, totally. It's the same rationale as doing the blackface, isn't it? It's mockery of the actors that have done roles that are mentally disabled.
And you even get that whole.
We probably are going to say the word
Downey
retard
Jr.
later on when we discuss certain scenes. So apologies for that if it offends you.
It's contextual. It's not the opinions of me and Matt, obviously.
But I can see the argument either way. You can definitely say it's lampooning those kind of actors that are so method that they go too far into either blackface or playing a disabled role. And there's also a little bit of controversy around Tom Cruise's character.
Yes, I did read up on that, the Jew face accusations.
Yeah. So he's quite clearly like a Jewish film exec producer. And there's the same. I don't know whether you can make the same arguments for it being a lampooning of actors portraying that, because no actor has portrayed that. Yes. It's more of a straight case of Tom Cruise doing a bit. And of course, Stiller's Jewish, and he found it acceptable to do.
Yeah.
And Cruise has said on record that he just based it on people he'd met, and he wanted certain physical characteristics to remove him from the role. Yeah. It's Tom Cruise. You wanted to try and disconnect the audience from it being him, I think.
No, I think you're right.
Again.
Yeah. And I think the character of Grossman loosely looks like one of the film's producers as well. So I think that might have been a little joke between them. Because when Stiller said that it's on a special feature, and then the guy comes on and does like a VT, and you're like, oh, okay, I see they got the beard from the guy. Okay, they got the glasses from him. You can sort of see it. However, if that absolves I don't know. I think that's a
Not
whole
for us to
different
judge,
discussion.
really. I mean,
no, of course not.
we're not from any of these backgrounds, so we
No,
can't comment
But,
on them.
we're two white boys doing a podcast.
Yeah.
Crikey,
essentially.
how many of them are there? Anyway, so as we mentioned, Robert Downey Jr.'s use of blackface drew heavy criticism as well. I know Downey Jr. was defending himself, taking on the role, and he said it was about showing how absurd it was, how that these big actors decide to do these roles that are questionable. And Kirk Lazarus
the pigment
was like,
augmentation
yeah,
bit
exactly.
is entirely believable of someone who would go all in on the whole method side
to
of
get
things.
the 6th Oscar type of thing. Yeah. And then ironically, in a weird twist and turn, the movie goes on about how these actors do these things to win awards. And then Downey Jr. goes on to get an Academy Award nomination for Best Supporting Actor at the 2009 Academy Awards and a BAFTA nomination. And to date, it's his only other Oscar nomination over the Charlie Chaplin film he did in the early 90s.
Of course, yeah.
So I find it really weird that how for all this, controversy, Downey Jr. still gets recommended for an award. But I think his performance, for me, it's so over the top and out there that it's Downey Jr. playing this character. I don't think he's not trying to take the piss. And there's so many instances in the film where the film does bring it to the fore and go, look how fucking ridiculous this is. When you've got the character of Al Pacino, a genuine black man.
What do you mean, you people?
Well, yeah, exactly.
What do you mean, you people?
Like,
yeah, exactly.
Just quoting lines from the Jeffersons, like how absurd is that?
Oh my god, yeah.
And Downey Jr.'s like, well, it's still a great theme tune, and it's like that's not the fucking point. But anyway, so retro review time. First retro review of the year comes from the late great Robert Ebert from August 11th, 2008, and I've truncated it for ease of reading. So he calls it the ultimate war movie. A trope of actors under the impression they're making a Vietnam War film wanders dangerously into the jungle and is captured by a gang of drug lords who thinks the actors are narcs. The movie is a send-up of Hollywood actors acting agents, directors, writers, rappers, trailers, and egos, much enhanced by several cameo roles. Stiller and Ethan Coen are familiar with the ordeals of filmmaking and location work and distills it into wildly exaggerated scenes that have a whiff of accuracy. Especially interesting is the way that director Damien Coburn leaves the picture, which perhaps reflects the way some actors feel about directors. This movie is, may I say, considerably better than Stiller's previous film Zoolander. It has a kind of summer comedy feel. It rolls in, makes a lot of people laugh, and then rolls onto video.
Classic Ebert, yeah.
Who am I to argue with Roger Ebert?
Yeah.
As always, we ask for your one-word reviews, and there were, again, a bumper crop to choose from. I think we are at 80 responses at the moment. A load of likes. Thanks, everyone, for getting involved again. We love hearing them. Rob Shipman goes with Cruise. AD Bond goes with Bananas. CGK says Never. Adam White goes with Coogan. Chris Langdon goes with Hilarious. We've got Mark C, another one for Cruise. Nick Champion says Aspirational. Tom McCall goes with Pastiche. Dan McClinton goes with Tuggernuts. We've got Old Roger going Player. That scene come up later. Darren Skerritt goes with You People. Paul Bennett goes with Big Ass Titties. We've got Stuart Fitzel Braces. And then finally we have Chris Viking that goes with Passable. I thought was quite interesting.
Okay. Yeah.
This movie, I think this movie holds.
Does divide opinion a bit, doesn't it?
It really does. Yeah. Because as I say, I probably mentioned it now. When I went to the cinema, I thought I was seeing a straight war film, like parody, like something like Hot Shots. Yeah, I thought that's what I was going to go and see. And then when it pulls out of that Hot LZ sequence that we'll talk about later,
it breaks the fourth wall, doesn't it?
It breaks the fourth wall, and I hadn't really experienced anything like that. I think when you're 15, you're not, unless you're really into movies, like you haven't, you might not experience that before. I was into Peep Show, so I knew about fourth wall breaking, but Peep Show does it in a completely different way, where you hear internalized voices, and it's like they're talking to you. But this movie, I was like, oh, okay, it's a film about films now. Like I don't really know enough about movie making at that point in my life to fully get it. But in the years since, like from doing the show and from I did a film at A-level and then I did acting for a bit. It is like that, and that's why it's funny to me. It's just such a great parody. Matt, do you want to fill us in on the cast?
Okay, so we're going to do it a little bit differently this week. So I thought what we do is we just go through the actor and who they're playing and what the character in the movie's background as an actor is. And then we can talk a little bit about some of the war movies that they've been in, and there's some surprises. So, as Rob mentioned, Ben Stiller, director, but also plays Tug Speedman, who's kind of like a frazzled action hero. He's been doing an action hero series, Scorcher, and he's ridden it into the ground.
Yeah.
And
he's like Sly or Schwarzenegger or
yeah,
Dolph Lundgren type guy.
They've fatigued his like appeal by doing the same movie over and over again. Basically, just been really badly handled as an actor.
Scorcher 5, global meltdown. Again. Yeah.
And we'll talk about that opening sequence later on. The movie begins with some faux trailers that set up most of the main cast. Then we've got Jack Black, who plays Jeff Portnoy, who's a drug-addled comedy actor who is in a series of films where he plays all of the roles, which is very reminiscent of late 90s, early 2000s Eddie Murphy,
yes,
where he plays all of the roles. And it's called Fatties, the Fatties series. And his main claim to fame is he can fart on command.
That's it. Yeah.
So basically, it's just fart jokes all the way through. And he's addicted to jelly beans,
cocaine, quote unquote,
whatever he can get his hands on,
quote unquote.
Then we've got Robert Downey Jr., who plays Kirk Lazarus, who's a 7-time Academy Award winner, method actor who undergoes pigment alteration surgery in an undisclosed Asian country where his skin is dyed black, and it's method blackface essentially. But he adopts the vernacular and the mannerisms of a black man from the American South who's been drafted, and he becomes Sergeant Osiris in the film. And it's a pastiche of those method actors like Daniel Day-Lewis and others that go
Russell Crowe,
they go fully into a role.
Johnny Depp, all them sort of people.
Yeah. And he's Australian, so he does a bit of an Australian accent. So he's probably the most layered character in this. He's an American really playing an Australian, going on, playing a method actor that is portraying
inside of another dude. Yeah,
it's brilliant. I love how they unpick it.
It's so great.
I know who you are. My friend. And the really great bit is he's coming off the back of a really big movie with Tobey Maguire called Satan's Alley, about a pair of gay monks, priests.
Yeah.
And it's like the trailer for that is
it's hilarious.
It really is.
That was shot in Hawaii again.
I know, in one day.
In one day. Yeah.
In one day.
Anyway. So we had a flight to catch. They did a favor on like a 2-wall set. But Stiller was saying in the commentary I listened to.
But he's perfect. He's perfect.
It's great, isn't it? It's
and they're like, Teen Choice Awards, Best Kiss.
yeah.
Tobey Maguire. Then we got Nick Nolte, who plays Four-Leaf Tayback, who is the author of a best-selling Vietnam War autobiography, memoir, and he has lost his hands in the line of duty, and he has a set of claws, and Nick Nolte knocks it out the park.
It's really good.
Perfect for it. We'll talk more about him in a moment. Then we have Steve Coogan, who is acting his little heart out in the 4 scenes he has before he is sadly dispatched. And he does a great job of setting up that character and the crux of the movie.
Yeah.
And the emotional punch of like, oh fuck, when it happens.
Yeah.
Damien Coburn.
Which is also, it's a riff on like directors who go from theatre to film and can't hack it. It's just great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Then we've got Jay Baruchel, who plays Kevin Dusky, who is a novice actor who's done one film before and is just cast because I think they've run out of money.
It seems that way. There's a lot about his character they cut. So because I think he thanks, there's this extended sequence of the 1-week party, and in the version on the Blu-ray at least, he thanks Coburn for casting him. And he's like, oh, thanks a lot. And it implies he went and did the boot camp when no one else did.
Yes.
So it's
you
it's
see
really
a bit of that in
yeah.
one of the behind the scenes things that we'll
It's
talk
funny,
about.
isn't it? Yeah, it's great.
And then we have he plays the straight man, doesn't he, essentially?
He does, yeah.
We should note that before we move on. And then we have Danny McBride, who plays Cody Underwood, who is hilarious as the film's like helicopter pilot and also explosive expert, like the pyro dude. And he talks about nearly blinding Jamie Lee Curtis on the set of Freaky Friday.
Freaky Friday.
Which has got like no pyro.
No, it's so good.
And then we've got Brendan T. Jackson, who plays Al Pacino, which is obviously a riff on Al Pacino. And he's a closeted gay rapper, with the reveal of which is quite funny.
Yeah, it's not bad.
But he's got like a hyper masculine rap career where his big song is Bustin' Up.
Booty Shake.
Booty Shake is the drink, and Bustin' Up is the
energy bar.
Yeah, energy bar.
Yeah.
But he's got like what's this song? Is it I Love the Pussy or something? Or
something like that. Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway, it's set up at the beginning of the film. Anyway, so famously, apparently, Kevin Hart declined the role because the character was gay. Which I'm glad about, because I don't think Kevin Hart could have pulled it off.
Later on say it wasn't because he was homophobic, it was because he just didn't want to kiss a guy on screen.
Something like that.
And I was like, well, we're okay.
I didn't look into it.
But no, I didn't either.
Then we got Bill Hader as a studio exec who is Les Grossman's right hand man. You don't see a lot of him, but he's really good in the bit he's in.
I love Bill Hader, and this was one of my first introductions to Bill Hader, and I was like,
it's a very early film role because obviously he's busy with SNL.
Yeah.
That's what he's coming.
He's got me into SNL this as well.
I think that was kind of like the golden era.
I think it was
Andy Samberg, Bill Hader.
Yeah, Sudeikis. Yeah.
A lot of good stuff come out. Then we've got Brandon Suho, who played Tran, the 12-year-old leader of the drug gang, Flaming Dragon. And then we have Reggie Lee, who plays Byung, who is the second in command. And these are all like playing tropey Asian baddie characters.
Yes. I like to think it's their mockery of the type of actors that were played VC in a Vietnam War movie. I thought it was like their version of that.
Yeah. I think so. And then rounding it out, we've got Matthew McConaughey, who plays Rick the Pecker Peck,
so good
who is Doug Speedman's agent and best friend, who's great.
Tugger Nuts. He does that thing.
Yeah.
Tugger Nuts.
Is his Speedman's best friend.
Yeah.
And of course, as we mentioned already, Tom Cruise plays Les Grossman, the profane, very, very bad-tempered studio exec, who is producing the movie and funding it. And famously, Cruise really wants to reprise that role and do a spin-off.
He does. Yeah, I've heard about that.
We've talked about that recently as well.
He did it at like an award show where he came out as the character. Keeps trying to get a project off the ground.
Yeah, he did like an MTV or something.
He could do it,
He's good. It's funny. It's funny.
It's Cruise. So it's not Cruise as you've ever seen him.
We'll talk about this later.
Yeah.
Well, we've talked about this before, where it's difficult with some actors like Gregory Peck, Robert De Niro, Pacino. Yeah. It's difficult to remove them from the role
from a movie. Yeah,
because you're just watching Gregory Peck. Yeah. And Cruise is very much, I think, in that kind of realm as an actor.
It broke the mold so much.
Not to say he can't
do it.
A good actor,
whether you get opportunities,
we've seen it lots of times. But I think he's so recognizable, and everyone expects him to do a certain thing. I think this is why he's jumped at this to break that mold. So I thought to round this out, and normally like we talk about which war movies actors have been in the past, and
you find links
context this way
to the show.
I thought this time what we'd do is we'd play a round of.
It's everyone's favorite game. Who's in what war movie?
So, Stiller, you've already mentioned Empire of the Sun.
Empire of the Sun, yeah.
That's, as far as I know, his only war movie credit.
Okay.
Jack Black, what can you think of? What would fit the war movie very broad definition of war movie we have.
The only military role that I know Jack Black to have ever played, he played a soldier in Mars Attacks.
Ding ding. 1 point for Rob. Nice. This is all for Rob. I can't do this. This is my question.
No, yeah.
No, this is just
this is an impromptu pop quiz.
Robert Downey Jr. What have you got? Who do you think? What was he in?
Well, I was Iron Man. Obviously, they're not really
a war movie, but yeah.
No, okay.
Technically. He was in a Vietnam War movie.
Oh, it was in Platoon, but it was cut.
Was he? No? Okay, well, that wasn't what I was thinking of. I was thinking of Air America.
Oh, was it Air America? My mind.
Air America in 1990, yeah.
Oh, I'm thinking of Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp was cut from Platoon. Yeah, sorry.
A lot of people will go from Platoon.
Yeah. Or Johnny Depp scenes
from Apocalypse Now.
Cut down. Yeah.
Okay, Nolte. Now this is probably the easiest one. He has a lot of war movie credits that can be considered war movie credits.
I know he did one where is it like called not Serbia or something, where he plays like a war correspondent?
Under Fire, yeah.
Under Fire. Right, okay, good. Thank God for that. Yeah.
Then we've got 1989's Farewell to the King, where he's a US deserter that is with the headhunters
with Nigel
in Borneo.
Havers. Is that
with
the one?
Nigel Havers. That's the one.
We need to do that. That movie looks batshit.
We do.
We need to do that.
It is mad. Then, of course, what's the obvious one?
Blank. Do you want a blank?
Thin Red Line.
Oh, of course. Yes, of course he was in Thin Red Line.
And Hotel Rwanda as well in 2004, opposite Don Cheadle.
Yes, he was the UN army man.
That's right.
Yeah.
Coogan. What war movie has Coogan been in?
Really?
Hope you're playing along at home.
Really? Oh. See, me and Matt are big Coogan fans.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, God.
You know about this film, Rob. We've talked about this film. You know about it. It's one of Paul Greengrass's films.
Yeah, no. In the Loop.
Mm. No.
Oh, no. That's a movie about war. Paul
Resurrected.
Greengrass.
Resurrected.
Was he in Resurrected?
Yeah, he was in Resurrected.
No way. What was he in that?
I think he's the lead. Like he's. I think no, he might not be.
David Lewis, you're thinking of?
No, that's right. But he is in that film.
Oh right, okay.
Yeah, it's a movie about a Falklands veteran. That
1989. God, that's quite early for Cougs. Jeez.
Yeah.
Wow.
Bill Hader.
Bill Hader.
This is tricky. If you haven't seen Bill Hader's recent TV work.
Oh, Barry.
Yep.
Okay. Plays a hitman.
Marine. He's a global war on terror US Marine Corps veteran.
Oh right, okay, I didn't know that. Not seen Barry. I heard a lot of good things.
I need to watch that because it does look good. All the clips.
It's hard to get HBO stuff over here.
Yeah. It is. BBC needs to try harder.
It's on Now TV, I think. You can get a lot of that.
Is it? Okay. McConaughey.
I want to say Captain Courage Mandolin, but that's not right, is it?
No, it's not. It's not. Not a bad guess though. Around that time.
He wasn't in Black Hawk Down, was he? Because everyone was in there.
No, he wasn't. I know everyone was kind of in that, but no.
Sahara?
He was in Sahara, but it wasn't Sahara the war movie.
No,
it was like an adventure movie.
Yeah, we're thinking the adventure one had a bit of war in it. No.
You give up?
Oh, God. All right. Oh, God.
U571.
Of course. Yeah, got it right on the shelf over there. Tried to get that one on the back of my brain. Wow, fair enough.
And then finally, Tom Cruise. Got a few you can throw into this.
Yeah, got a few there. The one where the sci-fi war one, where he's like
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah,
Edge of Tomorrow. Yeah, I quite like that.
That's one.
Valkyrie.
That's two.
Valkyrie's two. Ooh.
Last Samurai.
Of course, yeah. We've mentioned it before. Yeah. Fair enough.
Last Samurai. Taps.
What's that one?
That's they're in a US military academy and they mutiny. And there's a siege, an armed siege. Because the principal of the school is being forcibly retired and the kids rebel.
That might be fun. Sounds like The Last Castle, but not in a prison.
Yep, kind of. War of the Worlds.
Yeah, okay. I'll give you sci-fi again. Yeah, I'll give you that. Yeah.
Top Gun,
Of course, Top Gun. Why did I think Top Gun for?
and Born on the 4th of July.
Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
See, when you put on the spot, it's the whole thing of going.
It's hard, isn't it? No, it's hard. I
when you watch like the
completely
chase or
agree.
something, you're shouting at the telly, being like, "It goes! You should know that. I know the answer." And it's like, well, yeah, they're in a studio with the pressure of camera beaming at them. No, it's
There we go.
Like, no, good. That was great. We should play that more often. Let's become a feature.
Yeah, I thought that would be a good way of doing the links to past war movies that these actors have been in. But that rounds out cast. That takes us to Ali Tally.
It does.
It's time for Ali Tally on Fighting on Film.
Before the Ali Tally started, Matthew just pulled out a 1958 British Army water bottle and just started chugging for it, and we had a bit of a laughing fit. Anyway, kicking off the first Ali Tally of the year. So for me, it's a bit unfair because I'm going to do a whole scene for my Ali Tally, but I think it fits. So it's the hot LZ scene at the start, I mentioned in my production notes. It rides the line again, and I said this with Where Eagles There, but it rides the line between pastiche and parody. I saw the scene for the first time in the cinema, and I thought the whole film was going to be this exaggerated, over-the-top take on the war movie, but then it obviously opens up into what the movie is about, making movies. But the scene encapsulates everything you've ever seen from a big-budget Hollywood war film in the last 40 years. VC in black pajamas running out of the mist, the bayonet one of the leads, like in We Were Soldiers. Then we've got even the text before the scene starts is a massive tongue-in-cheek nod to that entire genre of
right down to the font.
Yes, exactly. You've got that like stencil font that we all use. It's in the winter of 1969, and the lead forces of U.S. Army was sent out on a top-secret assignment in Southeast Vietnam. The objective: rescue Sergeant Four-Leaf Tabak from a heavily guarded NVA prison camp. The mission was considered to be near suicide. Of the 10 men sent, 4 returned. Of those 4, 3 wrote books about what happened. Of those 3, 2 were published. Of those 2, just 1 got a movie deal. And I love how cliched that is. But I also love, and I didn't realize until I watched the movie again, that's the plot of the film. You watch that film.
Yeah.
They do rescue him from a prison camp, just not an NVA one. It's so clever. The sort of the foreshadowings even there at the start, plain to see. And then you've got the orchestral chanting over the Ben Stiller doing his platoon gunshot boogie. God,
and the number of rounds he takes.
It's so great. Yeah. And you got that hey thing like you get in We Were Soldiers. It's so good. You got the 3 Hueys coming in over the jungle to the sound of cliche Vietnam war tracks. You got Ball of Confusion by the Temptations, I think.
Oh, such a great song.
The jungle's in there. It's great, isn't it?
There's some Stones as well.
There's some Stones, and they're all really like cliche, which I love. And even down to like there are AR-15 Sporter 2 carbines in place of XM 177s that are used by Tug Speedman and Osiris in the opening sequence. And that for me is a definite homage to Platoon because Barnes and Elias use them. And you can tell they're not XMs because they don't have a big fat flash hider. They've got like a thin M4 carbine.
They have a longer barrel, don't they, in front of the front sight post. Yeah,
and that's a great trope. You see them in a lot of other war movies as well that can't get XMs. And Jack Black as Fats on the M60, there always seems to be like a big heavy-set dude that gets given the pig. And I happily would have seen just much more of the ensemble do the Nam shtick. And apparently, according to the staff of Warriors Inc., like Jack Black was worryingly good with the M60. Like he was just really such a natural with it. I like the use of like the flak jackets as vests to show off Tug Speedman's muscles. Like I just love the way he wears it. And the graffiti on helmet covers, cards and shotgun shells and helmet bands. It's just really, really cliched stuff.
All of the tropes, yeah.
Yeah, wearing like, even down to like wearing flak jackets in jungle environment, you'd never do. Like it's just really good. And the dialogue as well, it's just so thick with tropes in that sequence. So it's like, we need buku firepower, rock and roll. Want some? Come get some. We need the diddy now. Like it's all so packed with jargon and Vietnamese slang and Vietnamese words that you hear in all other films.
There's literally a direct Hamburger Hill reference where he goes, "Ain't no thing."
Ain't no thing. It's so great. Yeah. And even when he's running, it's like peekaboo, I see you, and he shoots the guy behind him with his pistol. It's so great. Danny Jr. did all his stunts in that section. So when the helicopter explodes near him, he did that role of that you see. He wasn't no stuntman.
Oh, wow,
took him
cool.
about 15 or 16 times, he says in the DVD commentary. And the excessive gore of Radio Op being shot. Like, there's just so much going on.
Yeah. The LT gets shot in the back of the head, doesn't he? And he falls, and it does not stop fountaining. The blood is insane.
Yeah.
And then Sandusky's character gets bayoneted in the guts, and the VC just jangles the I think it's like an SKS, the bayonet around it.
AK bayonet, AKM with a bayonet on it.
And he's like, I think I can put it back in.
Like all those tropey lines. Yeah. And I like there's just the lines of like of Portnoy's character being like, calling that snake in it and get us some boom boom now. It's such like cliched bollocks. I just love it.
It's none of it makes any sense.
No,
my favorite out of it all though is when Downey Jr. is there with Stiller after he's carried him back, and they've been they've landed after Stiller has battered away a hand grenade with his hands and had his hands blown off, and he says, "Take my hands," and he picks up his stumps and he's holding his hand, and Downey Jr. just looks at him and goes, "Survive."
It's so good.
Instead of like all the tropes of like hang in there, you're gonna make it, he just goes, "Survive."
Survive. And that's where the film clicks to be parody. But that sequence could just
the way it pulls out though, so good.
It's very clever.
And you got that huge just back set of everything that goes into making a film.
They shot their own set. They said they didn't, there was no point wasting money creating a whole fake crew, just shot the crew. Because if you look in that sequence, the genuine cinematographer is just standing next to Steve Coogan. And like the boom guy is the same boom guy, and some of these guys had lines and they didn't get used. But there's even like references later on in the movie. So Speedman's breakdown is like reminiscent of Sheen's character at the start of Apocalypse Now, and then he goes a bit Brando with the
there's definite Brando at the end.
Yeah, and they shoot him the same way with the shadow because they were trying to not show you how fucking fat Brando got. And then there's a bit where they do that thing. I can't explain it very well, but you'll know what I mean. So when in Saving Private Ryan, when Tom Hanks comes out of the landing craft and he finally makes it onto the beach, he's got that ringing in his ears. Yeah, he looks around and everything's sort of going on in slow motion.
I know the scene you're going to mention.
Yeah, and someone shouts at him and goes, "What the hell are we going to do now, sir?" Like, and they parody that right near the end. Which is such a blink and you'll miss it reference.
It's so Jack Black's like shouting about a pain in his arse or something.
Something like that. It's great. I just love it.
And it's a very quotable film.
It's very quotable. And it's just, if you love action movies and you like war movies, like that opening scene is so tropey. It's such an indulgent scene. That's why I like it. And that's the alley tally for me. That opening sequence, that's my alley tally. If I can have two favorite scenes this week, that's my alley tally.
Yeah, that's allowable. Alley tally for me, it's got to be Downey's cut down Ithaca 37.
It's so cool. Yeah,
which is like the least useful weapon available, and he carries it.
He's smoking fools with it though in that sequence. Yeah, I know. It's great.
I love the bit where he drops his belt gear and just takes a 45 and he puts it against Al Pacino's like face and says, "I'm gonna go and get him." That's great. My other favorite bit is McBride's slingshot, where he's slingshotting like pyro at the end.
Great, yeah.
Into like the drug gangs like huts and stuff. I would say the circa 2008 armored TiVo box also deserves a mention for taking that RPG.
TiVo.
My running TiVo joke is so dated.
Gets TiVo. Yeah, it's really dated.
Another 5 years and people are going to be like, don't get that.
That kind of scans now, like, sort of, because people just know nostalgia wise. But at the time, isn't it like a box that you could pause live TV with or something?
Yeah, in the UK, the closest thing would have been like a Sky Plus box.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, basically.
There's an extended scene.
You can record TV on it. That's what it is. It's basically just a recording.
Yeah, in the alternate ending, McConaughey's character gets dragged away by the flaming dragons, and then they watch the Oscars together, and they've been taking bets on who was going to win or not. And it turned out that Peckerman had a bet against them to win an Oscar.
So I don't know whether you noticed this, but at the very end, where they're pulling away in the helicopter, and you see McConaughey run into the jungle, that looks really weirdly sped up.
It does a bit, yeah,
doesn't it?
I did notice.
It kind of just
he
starts slow, and then like it speeds up massively, and he sprints into the like, tree line,
getting out of there.
One last thing for the alley tally would be, I think, the M9 flamethrower that Nolte.
That's cool.
Lights up the camp with, and it's another trope. It's the never-ending flamethrower. You get like max 10 seconds on a flamethrower, and he's there just holding the trigger down, walking around.
So good. There's another great bit where, and it's cut from it's a deleted scene or extended.
Stop talking about bits that aren't in the film.
I know, sorry.
Just because you've got the Blu-ray doesn't mean that everyone else does,
I know, sorry. Where, like when people are going through rivers and they've got those snorkels they make out of bamboo. Yes. Well, there's a really funny sequence, and they cut it for time. There's a little commentary track on it. But they go through the river and it's not as deep as they think. So they get about halfway through and they're like literally above the river, but they've still got the snorkels in. It's really funny. But you can see why they cut it, but it's great. But I even just love the actors, even down to like the last moments of the film. They're still treating the firearms like they're real. Like they don't pick up like a real gun and actually start killing. They use all their blank ammo up, which I really love. It's really great.
God, yeah, that is a good point, actually. So, Rob, what's your favourite scene?
Favorite scene? As I said, I love that hot LZ sequence. But Tom Cruise's cameo as Lloyd Grossman.
Oh, you got another one? Okay, cool.
Les Grossman.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, you haven't segued into favourite scenes, have you? You just take the piss.
Yeah.
That's staying in. You fucker. You can't fuck with a running order, Matt. I am the running order.
And now for a sweet segue into favourite scenes.
Make me look a fool on my own show. I'm going to say that all again for the benefit of the listeners. I love the whole LZ scene, but Tom Cruise's cameo as Les Grossman is so funny. Like it is that movie for me. I can't think of that film without thinking of Tom Cruise.
I know, it's the profanity and the moves that he just busts out. You just don't expect it.
No, and it's
almost as unexpected as Coogan's demise.
Oh yeah, you can't not talk about this movie about that as well. The reveal of him, he's the real villain of the thing because he's just going to leave Tug there to die.
Yeah,
and catch the insurance claim.
Yeah,
and Bill Hader's there going, well, the net of the insurance claim would be more than the film would lose. You just think that's exactly the sort of conversations that must have been had at some point in a studio somewhere. And then,
you can see it.
Yeah, and then Cruise just turns on like an MP3 player and Apple Bottom Jeans starts, and he just starts absolutely vibing, going like, you could be a player, I know you want the goodies, welcome to the goodie room. Like it's all this such great dialogue, and they just they saw him pawn off McConaughey with a G5 and some money. It's just such a great little scene. It's so funny. In any other film it would just be really odd, but it just works. McConaughey and Tom Cruise just having fun in them scenes, and then McConaughey gives a real weight to his character that he just doesn't need to, as well, which I really appreciate. It's such a funny scene. What about you?
Again, my favorite scene is that opening, and the way it begins with the trailers, the faux trailers, is perfection. So it pastiches not only like really serious character-driven movies where it's Satan's Alley. Which is kind of a rip off of Brokeback Mountain and other like those kind of movies. It rips off the action genre really well with the Scorcher. It's basically the Earth gets global warming.
That's it,
times 1,000. and he's the only man that can apparently save us. Anyway, it's not explained. He's holding
The
a
plot
baby.
makes
He's
no
got two
sense,
guns.
but
It's
that's the
weird.
point. Yeah.
Then he has two babies and two guns.
Two guns,
It's
yeah.
typical stuff. It shows Jack Black's Fatty's fart 2 sequence, which is just mostly farting, and it's just that awful, like, crass, most base level comedy. And it just does it really well. And of course, I won't rehash the entire like conversation we just had about that scene, but there is also a Wilhelm scream, which is always nice to
Really
hear.
early on. Yeah, you're right. This is nice.
Which is perfect.
And then,
Perfect fits.
And I think this is where it comes to the problem with this movie. It's so quotable. There's so much great dialogue that we're doing a disservice by not talking about all of it. But for me, I mean, me and Matt are big Steve Coogan fans, so him stepping on a landmine is just timeless funny to me. It never fails to make me laugh. Because Coogan has this massive dialogue where he's like, and I am Jesus Christ, and you are my disciples. And he's like proper gone mad by that point. Just let's go make the best war movie ever. Just hear a click, looks at the ground, goes, oh, and it just explodes. It's just great.
And the way Stiller sells it is, very funny, Damien.
It's bloody corn syrup.
Oh my god, that bit where he picks the head up is it's so shocking. I can remember like the first time I saw it.
Still moving around.
It's such a good piece of practical effects
it's really
as well.
Good. Yeah. It's so funny. And he kicks the head away. I'm Dave Beckham. That dates it as well. Like, it's so funny.
That scene is the crux of the movie. That's where the movie flips.
Yes.
It's a really important one, but it's a great one. And I like the bit where they go, that was how he knows, I have no idea. But he's like, that was a French mine left over from the Indochina War.
Yeah, because in that fake making of they say that his character went to the boot camp.
Yeah.
So he would
the only one
maybe learn that there, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it makes sense.
I mean, we mentioned it's so quotable, but I mean, let's just throw out some quotes. There's the bit where Tug goes like full immersion, and he's like, "It's beautiful out here. I've moved on, and way beyond TiVo."
Oh, way beyond TiVo. Yeah.
And he's like got a panda head.
Yeah,
he's murdered a panda. And he's watching something on his iPod.
And Pecker thinks he's killed a prostitute, and he's saying you to get lime and bathtub, just insinuating that you melted the woman. And then when he hears it's a panda, he's like, "What's the problem?" Oh, it's great, and it just sort of, and even little things like punching, getting Les Grossman getting that grip to punch. To punch Coogan in the face. Yeah. There's just so much going on. Like, and even the first time you see Bill Hader, he's like spitting some watermelon or something back into the bowl.
Where the complimentary fruit tray comes through.
Really
he takes something, spits it back onto the tray.
It's great.
It's the entitlement of the movie industry again getting past each.
Yeah. A 1 week party. Like to see it a week down. Yeah, it's hilarious.
Downey Jr.'s got a load of great lines in this. He's got most of them. He's got, the whole "you people" sequence is great. And "suck my unit," which is classic. And then the bit where he breaks character a little bit when Al Pacino criticizes Crocodile Dundee. He's like,
"A man's a national treasure."
Breaks kids. The guy's a national treasure.
It's great. Yeah. But then I like at the end when he's just being Kirk, and he's just got this quite passable Australian accent. It's quite funny. Like, I like it. I like Downey's arc in this. It's quite good.
And how is he fluent in Vietnamese? Is he so method?
It was Chinese, wasn't he? I think. Does he mention it was like for a film?
I don't know.
Or
You've watched the commentary. I haven't watched the commentary.
I didn't do the whole commentary. But the funny thing about that commentary is Downey Jr. is still in character.
And of course,
says in the film, "I never leave character till the DVD commentary's finished." And lo and behold, he is. And he's calling Jack Black was late for the commentary. So he's like, "Oh man, this jive fool's late for the commentary." And he's like just giving him grief for that the whole way through. And like it's very funny. It's just
jumping off that,
yeah.
We've got to talk about the Reign of Madness
Yeah.
like extra that was on the DVD, which
So that's
is
on YouTube. You can
it
find
is. It's up on YouTube if you haven't got the DVD.
And that was devised by Steve Coogan and Justin Theroux.
Mm.
And it adds a lot of extra stuff that props up the movie,
Yeah.
at least the start of the movie, that shows it off for what it is. It's a real good parody of
desire not to do monologue that is more than like 5 words.
Yeah.
He's in his trailer watching Desperate Housewives, which again dates it.
Very much so.
But I mean, I love Coogan. He gets to actually like do a little bit more acting in that little
it was very Coogan-esque,
Reign of Madness
thing.
Yeah.
It remember a bit Alan Partridgey, like, filming.
Good.
Yeah. It's really good.
And I also like the sequence we mentioned where Kevin Sandusky does the boot camp, and he's the only one that does the boot camp, and the boot camp is led by Drake the Stick Longwood, and he's known as the Stick because he hits people with a baton, and he beats the shit out of Sandusky and Damien the director. He goes, "I'm the director," and he still drops him with the baton. And that character was played by Jimmy Rich, Downey's assistant.
Oh wow, okay.
Yeah. So Jimmy Rich has been Robert Downey Jr.'s assistant on most films if you look at his IMDb.
And we should mention as well that the actual film Tropic Thunder at the moment has just been added to Amazon Prime in the UK. So it is easily watchable. Yeah, there's just so much going on.
I've got this in my notes. I need to ask you about this. So Justin Theroux plays Jan Jurgen, which he's doing like mad Werner Herzog vibes with that narration.
Isn't he? Yeah,
it's mad. But in Reign of Madness, it shows that there's a rainstorm and they have to break production. So of course, Downey Jr.'s character is full method, so he hires a period C-130 to take him and his real fake family
flying because he gets the family of the guy in.
He gets Sergeant Osiris's real family to come to the set to accept him as doing the character. So it shows them on set, and he's there with like the dude's wife and his kids.
Yes.
And they all accept him, and it's shown as like, yeah, it's great. And then it shows them back in Galveston, like his home, like Osiris's hometown. And he's gone full immersion again of like when troops came back from the war, and
a bit of PTSD.
He's a Black Panther. He's got PTSD. He's got them in stress positions. He's holding them up with a gun.
Yeah.
So, it's the dude's actual family. But, of course, the whole crux of the movie is none of it's real because Nick Nolte's character made it all up. So who are that family?
I know, right?
Who's that family?
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Maybe they're actors that they got into a piece, Kirk, or something.
Maybe the studio knew really, and they just hired some actors.
Or maybe the guys were real, but Nolte embellished the story about real people, perhaps.
Well, Nolte's character says he was like in the Coast Guard as a refuse worker or something. He was a garbage man in
because I like how they sort
Coast Guard
almost kind of insinuate that he's a bit fake with what he's wearing because he's got like every badge under the sun on. There's nothing like, it doesn't say like Tropic Thunder anywhere on his like jacket as if he'd had like a badge from his time there. Yeah. So I don't know if it's intentional, but I think they kind of try to show you early on that he's bullshit.
I can see that. I can see that.
But I love that. If you've seen Hearts of Darkness, the making of the Apocalypse Now that came out in 91, if you haven't seen that, please go and see it because it's a fantastic piece of documentary making. But it's such a great parody of that, even down to a tropical storm.
That's why it's worth talking about. We never talk about DVD commentary stuff, but for this it's worth talking about because it adds a lot to the movie.
And if you're a war movie fan, like it's something to find out. And I think that probably segues into final thoughts this week. Matt, do you want to kick us off?
Yeah, it's a really clever concept, and no one's done anything like it recently. And it works so well to pastiche so many elements of the genre that we love, and also filmmaking in Hollywood, which is phenomenal. I think there's some really great performances. I think all of the main cast completely go for it, are totally on board. Coogan does a great job of selling it. I think everyone's really well directed by Ben Stiller as well. I think
the
that's
direction
underrated.
is good. It's the pacing's really good. I know it's a comedy movie and they do tend to move quicker, but there's a lot. It's well paced, well shot.
It
There's
is.
nothing
It
I
is.
can pick it out.
Nick Nolte does a great job selling it as well.
His comedy chops are really up there. Him and Danny McBride back and forth thing, really good.
Yeah, it's funny, isn't it? But I mean, to conclude, more like Tropic Thunder.
Hey, that's good.
Am I right? Yeah. What about you? I know you got some thoughts.
Yeah, as I say, I love this film. I've always liked it. I've had it on DVD when I was younger. I used to watch it quite a bit. And yeah, I the only thing about it, and it's not really a criticism. So I was talking about this earlier. I would wish, and that they had maybe kept you watching this fake war film just a little bit longer.
Yeah.
So, and I don't mean it in that I want to see more tropes, because I think they've done it by that point. But maybe if you'd seen just a little bit more of it, so you were like, okay, then the reveal might have been a little bit more of a shock, perhaps.
Yeah.
But that's just because I like it so much. I think because they did it so well.
It does it well. Yeah.
Yeah. And I also think it's such an interesting movie that it comes out in a time where Jack Black's at a career high with Kung Fu Panda.
They all are, arguably.
Yeah. Downey Jr.'s just coming on Iron Man, which has totally revitalized his career. It's such an interesting film where it captures these people. Like, I don't think Jack Black's been that great since. Danny McBride definitely hasn't. At the time he was doing Eastbound and Down, which is another great show if you haven't seen that. But he made some bad movie choices and he's not hit the heights, unfortunately. Jay Baruchel's become a director and a comedy actor, and Ben Stiller's still up there, but he's not doing as much, I don't think.
No,
he's not as big as he was, and this might be the sort of last big movie, I think you're right, of their careers. But then I also understand why people don't like it as well. So I think it is a polarizing movie. I think definitely now people can't see past the discrimination part of it. It's because it is in there. You can't ignore the fact it's in there.
I mean, we haven't talked a lot about the Simple Jack
we
scenes.
haven't. They do date very badly.
They do, and it loses its, even within the film and the amount of time he spends doing it. Once you see the trailer of him do it in the film Simple Jack,
you don't need to see it again.
You don't need to see him do it again. But he then recreates it because I know it's a plot point, because the Flaming Dragon gang want him to do it because it's the only DVD that they have, which is funny. It's funny that it's the only DVD they have,
and it's funny.
I don't think it adds as much as it.
It's more funny that Speedman gets to actually do it to an audience that appreciated it, and I understand that,
and I know what they're going for totally. But
there could have been a moment there where he realizes how absurd it is. That might have, and I know they weren't going that; they were going into that he's buying his own hype again, type thing. But I thought, rewatching it, I was like, this is a perfect moment for the character to go, this is fucking absurd.
Yeah.
But then they sort of do that together with him and Osiris, Kirk Lazarus and Speedman having that whole I'm a dude playing a dude thing. So I kind of get it. But yeah, you're right. Something is off about those Simple Jack scenes. They don't quite work. Even the joke of everyone who was up for an Oscar with Tug Speedman playing a character that's questionable. You've got Tom Hanks in the wheelchair. You've got, I think another actor was playing a questionable character. That joke's lost by that point for me.
Yeah, it's too far gone. Yeah,
it's too far gone, and it's a bit too forced, and it's only on screen for like
I suppose the famous scene and the bit where Downey Jr. tells him, you never go full.
Yes.
Is the crux of that, but that comes way before.
Yeah,
it kind of sets it up, but
the joke about the actors who did it not getting awards and not getting awards, it's funnier than the actual
scene of him doing it.
Yes, yeah. The word doesn't need to be repeated a lot of times, I feel. But then I think, that's us looking back. In 2008, climate was a lot different. I know now we've taken leaps and bounds of how you tackle representation and disability in film. Away a lot more. They don't make those kind of crass comedies anymore, thank God. and that maybe that film started that trend. Who knows? Maybe it started a conversation somewhere. Maybe it did. Maybe it didn't.
Maybe.
That's not for us to say. But getting back onto my final thoughts, it always makes me laugh. It's so quotable, and it's in the genre, and there's not many of them. The parody war film, I can only think of 1941, really, that does it.
Yeah, there's
I
not
think
many
there's-
parody war movies other than like Hot Shots, which kind
Hot
of
Shots,
is.
yeah. Is Oh What a
That's
Lovely
more-
War a parody? Almost.
Almost, yeah, kind
Almost,
of.
Yeah.
mm,
But no, Hot
Yeah,
Shots, you're
it's-
right. It's in the vein of Hot Shots.
mm.
Very much so. And if you're a fan of Vietnam War movies, just watch that first scene because you'll appreciate it for all it is. And yeah, I think would you give Tropic Thunder a recommendation now?
Yeah, for the pastiche alone, yeah,
Mm,
I would.
It's a film about film, really.
Yeah.
And I think if you like both of those things, then I think you'll enjoy this movie. So yeah, maybe we should talk about the rest of January.
Yeah, we've got a
round
couple of
out.
good things coming up. We've got The Wind and the Lion with Sean Connery coming up next week. Isn't this odd, Rob? We're prepared and we know what we're doing next week. This is new for 23. Let's see how long this lasts.
I know, right? Yeah. Matt dangled a John Milius film in front of me. I got excited and thought it was Red Dawn. Then he sent me Wind and Lion. So I'm interested to find out about that one.
It's great.
That looks good.
You'll
The
love
trailer looked good.
Mhm.
And then the Patreon pick is Ill Met by Moonlight with Dirk Bogarde. So we've got a real classic.
One of
End of the
mine.
month.
Ooh, yeah.
One of yours, yeah. So that was 2008's Tropic Thunder. We hope a little bit of a lighter film to kick off the year. I mean, we'll definitely revisit the war movie pastiche parody genre when we find them and when we do them. 1941 will definitely be something to do.
Yeah, we almost did it, didn't we, this time?
Yeah, we did. There's a toss-up between the two. We just thought, we've not done a Nam film for a while, so we thought, give it a go. But yeah, so thanks for joining us yet again. As always, please share, please review the show on whatever you listen to us on. You can find the entire back catalogue of the podcast at fightingonfilm.com, starting from episode 1 all the way up to 110, 106 now, whatever we're on, I can't remember. And we'll catch you next week. Thanks for listening, everybody.
Thanks for listening, guys. Bye.
Bye.